Welcome to Stories for Sleep. If at this moment you are lying down, the light has softened, and your mind is still carrying the remnants of a long day, then you are in the right place. Stories for Sleep was created for moments like this, when you don't need more news, you don't need more effort. You only need a story, gentle enough for the mind to slowly let go and drift into sleep naturally. In today's video, we will enter a very slow, very quiet journey through some of the most fascinating facts about birds, not to learn in the usual sense, but simply to listen. To listen to wings that have flown through millions of years of evolution. To listen to how birds read the sky, feel the wind build, nests form, bonds adapt and spread life without ever needing to rush. From the deep perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, birds are not only creatures of the natural world, but also ancient images living within the human unconscious, symbols of freedom, intuition, and the ability to find one's way, even without a map. You don't need to concentrate. You don't need to remember anything at all. Let this voice simply remain like a soft background sound, so that if you fall asleep without noticing, that is perfectly fine. The story is ready, and you only need to listen and rest. When night falls, the world gradually grows quiet. The sharp sounds of daytime fade away, and our minds often become restless in ways few people notice. The body is tired, but the mind is still flying from one thought to another, from old memories to new worries. Perhaps what makes sleep difficult is not the lack of silence, but that the mind is still searching for a place to land. And that is when birds appear in this story. In the psychology of Carl Gustav Jung, birds have long been a special symbol, a symbol of consciousness rising, of inner freedom, of the connection between earth and sky, between ancient instinct and the longing to transcend. But before becoming symbols, birds are very real beings, and those very realities are gentler than we might expect. This video was not created to make you learn something new. There is no need to remember species names, no need to fully understand complex biological mechanisms. Its value lies elsewhere, in allowing you to listen to the world through the wings of birds and to let your mind fly along. Then slowly, very naturally, lower its altitude. When we observe birds, we notice something curious. They move constantly, yet inside they are remarkably stable. They travel thousands of kilometers, yet rarely panic. They face storms, winds, and darkness, yet maintain a rhythm entirely their own. Carl Jung once said that the human unconscious does not learn through reasoning, but through living images, and birds are one of those images. In the journey ahead, you will gradually discover why birds are living descendants of ancient creatures that once dominated the earth, how they read the sky like an invisible map, their remarkable intelligence, memory, and capacity for sight, forms of communication that go far beyond birdsong, social lives, emotions, and subtle bonds, and how the quiet flights of birds silently shape life on this planet. But all of this will be told slowly, like a night breeze, without urgency, without tension. You don't need to follow every sentence. You don't need to understand everything. Just listen and allow images of wings to appear in your mind, rising, circling, and gradually coming down. Because sometimes to fall asleep, the mind does not need to be forced to stop it, only needs to fly far enough to be ready to return. And now we will begin from a place very far back in time, a place where birds and dinosaurs were once one. Part 1. Birds are the living descendants of dinosaurs. If we travel far enough back in time, far beyond human memory, far beyond stories written in words, far beyond the earliest civilizations, we will no longer see birds. There is no morning bird song, no wings beating across the sky, no quiet flight lines cutting through the sunset. Instead, there is a completely different world, a hotter, louder earth, where the ground trembles beneath the footsteps of gigantic creatures. A world where life wears rougher forms, and beauty, if it exists at all, has not yet taken on the gentle shape we know today. And from that very world, birds were born, not as a miracle, not as a sudden leap, but as a slow current, stretching across tens of millions of years. In the psychology of Carl Gustav Jung, deep time is not only a geological concept, it is also the time of the unconscious. What has existed for a very long time does not disappear when its form changes. It simply hides, continuing to live on in structure, in reflex, in instinct. And birds are a living testament to this truth. Every feather you see on a bird today is not merely a tool for flight. It is the descendant of primitive feathers that once grew on the bodies of dinosaurs, originally not for flying, but for warmth, for display, for communication, for survival. Feathers appeared before the sky, which means these birds were not born to fly. They became flying beings after a very long journey. Much like the human mind, we are not born understanding ourselves. We evolve into awareness, little by little. When you look at a bird's skeleton, at its hollow bones light yet strong, you are seeing the continuation of an ancient structure that once carried enormous weight. Dinosaurs did not disappear completely. They simplified. They let go of size. They let go of heaviness. They let go of brute power in exchange for lightness. And this is not only a story of biological evolution, it is a deeply psychological symbol. Carl Jung once said that the development of consciousness is not about accumulating more power, but about refinement. Just as dinosaurs became birds, the raw instincts within human beings do not disappear, they are transformed. Ancient survival reflexes, fears, impulses still live within us. But when they grow feathers, when they are covered by awareness, they become lighter, easier to navigate. Birds stand upright, just as many carnivorous dinosaurs once did. This posture is not accidental. It is a bodily inheritance. Even the way birds walk, the way they tilt their heads to observe the way they react instantly to movement, all carry within them wordless memories of an ancient age. In Jungian psychology, this is called collective memory, not personal memory, but patterns that existed before the ego itself. Birds do not remember being dinosaurs, but their bodies know. Just as you do not remember being an infant, yet your body still responds according to patterns formed very early on. When you hear birdsong, you may feel calm without knowing why. That is not accidental, because at a very deep level, the human mind recognizes this. This creature has existed for a very long time. It has survived multiple eras of destruction. It knows how to adapt. That continuity of existence carries an ancient sense of safety. Birds are proof that life can change its form without needing to disappear. Dinosaurs once dominated the earth. They vanished in a catastrophe. But one small branch, lighter, more flexible, more adaptable, survived. Not through strength, but through transformation. And in Jungian symbolism, this is precisely the journey of the human psyche as it matures. Not by eliminating instinct, but by lifting it from the ground into the sky. Birds carry within them both the darkness of the past and the light of the present. They are a reconciliation between the ancient and the new. When you listen to this story at night, your mind may be doing something similar. It may be releasing the heavy thoughts of the day, the rough pressures, the inner dinosaurs. And in their place it is growing feathers. Not to fly far, but to become lighter. Not to escape, but to rest. Birds do not sleep because they are weak. They sleep because they trust that the sky will still be there tomorrow. And so do you. When you allow yourself to drift into sleep, you are doing what life has done for hundreds of millions of years, letting go of an old form to enter a different state. Dinosaurs once ruled the land. Birds do not need to rule. They only need to fly. And even when they are not flying, they still carry within them the memory of the sky. Just like you, even as you lie still, your mind still knows how to move more slowly, more deeply inward. If your eyelids are beginning to feel heavy, that does not mean you are losing focus. It means you are moving in the right direction. Because the story of birds does not need to be fully understood. It only needs to be felt. And in that feeling, you may allow the ancient part within you to rest. Just as the dinosaurs once allowed themselves to become birds. Part 2. Flight is not just movement. It is a dialogue with the sky. If in the previous part, we saw birds as living memories of the ancient earth, then here, the story begins to grow lighter. Lighter not because it is less important, but because gravity is no longer the center. Dinosaurs walked upon the ground. Birds step into space. But flight for birds is not an act of defying the earth. It is a dialogue. Birds do not conquer the sky. They listen to it. They do not force the air to lift them. They read extremely subtle signals that humans rarely notice in everyday life. Wind, heat, pressure, air currents, magnetic fields. For birds, the sky is not emptiness. It is a living structure. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "The psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. The human mind does not belong only to the present, and neither does the bird's capacity for perception. Birds do not need to understand through concepts. Their bodies know. When a bird glides across the sky, it is reading minute changes in the air through its feathers, its skin, its bones, its muscles. Flight is not about exerting force. Flight is about continuous adjustment. A bird tilts its wings by just a few degrees. It alters the rhythm of its wing beats ever so slightly. It senses warm air rising from the ground in visible thermal columns that only beings truly at home in the sky can see. That is why birds can glide for hours without exhaustion. They do not consume energy. They cooperate with the environment. In Jungian psychology, this reflects the difference between control and harmony. Modern humans often try to control thoughts, to control emotions, to control the future. Birds do not. They move with the flow. When the wind changes direction, birds do not resist. They change posture. When air pressure shifts, birds do not panic. They adjust altitude. When storms arrive, birds do not fly faster. They fly to the right place. The sky is not static. It is constantly moving. And birds learn how to live within movement. This explains how birds can hover in mid-air, dive and reverse direction in an instant, fly against the wind, or hold their position amid chaotic air currents. Not because they are stronger than the wind, but because they understand it. Some bird species even fly non-stop for days, crossing entire oceans with no place to land, no shelter. And what astonishes humans most is this: many birds sleep while flying. Not deep sleep, but alternating moments of rest between the two hemispheres of the brain. One part stays awake to maintain direction, one part rests to recover. Even while flying, birds know how to rest. This is a profound lesson for the human mind. Carl Jung emphasized that psychological exhaustion does not come from activity itself, but from not knowing how to shift states. Birds do not rigidly separate action from rest. They allow the two to interweave. Flight for birds is a form of moving meditation, not absolute stillness, but a soft alertness. In the bird's experience, the sky is not meaningless space. It is a living map. A map with no drawn lines, no fixed symbols, yet constantly changing with time, with temperature, with light, with the position of the sun and the stars. Birds do not need paper maps. They carry the map in their bodies. And this touches a very deep layer of Jungian psychology, because Jung believed that humans too carry such invisible maps within themselves. Not maps of geography, but maps of emotion, maps of memory, maps of reflex. As you listen to this story before sleep, your mind may be slowly releasing the need to locate itself through thought. You do not need to know where you will be tomorrow. You do not need to know what will happen next. Like birds in the night, you only need to sense the present flow. Flight is not an escape from the ground. Flight is an expansion of the relationship with it. Birds still depend on the earth. Heat from the ground creates rising air currents. Landforms shape the wind. The Earth's magnetic field guides direction. They do not leave the Earth behind. They read it from above. And in the same way, when you close your eyes, you do not leave the world. You simply change perspective. If part 1 spoke of ancient memory within the bird's body, this part speaks of embodied intelligence. An intelligence not held in words, not held in concepts, but in direct sensation. And that is why this story does not require you to understand everything. You do not need to precisely imagine air currents or pressure. Your body already knows how to read invisible signals. You have felt the air before a rainstorm. You have sensed the strange stillness before a strong wind. You have felt your heart soften when watching birds fly far away. That is not accidental. That is memory. Part 3. Extraordinary orientation beyond human senses. When birds have risen into the sky, when their wings have learned how to converse with the wind, a very natural question begins to appear. A question humans have quietly carried for a long time. How do they know the way? No paper maps, no compass held in the hand, no satellites, signals, or coordinates. And yet, year after year, birds depart at exactly the right time, fly across vast oceans, cross deserts with no landmarks, pass over high mountains thin with oxygen, and then return to the very place where they were born. Not earlier, not later. In the human world, we call this a miracle. In the world of birds, it is simply rhythm. Birds do not navigate in the way humans imagine. They are within the path. Because orientation for birds is not an intellectual skill, but a state of being. They read the sky the way one reads one's own body. The sun is not merely a source of light, but a vast living clock. Its position throughout the day, the angle of its light, the subtle changes in color at dawn and dusk, all of these are information. The stars are not just distant points of light. They form stable patterns, which birds do not memorize consciously but sense through a deep, embodied feeling of order. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "Man has always believed that he possessed a knowledge of the psyche, but actually, he knows little about it." Humans often believe they understand how the mind works, yet the oldest forms of knowing do not reside in thought but in unconscious orientation. Birds use the scent of the ocean, the smell of soil, the fragrance of forests, faint chemical traces that humans can scarcely distinguish at all. They feel changes in air pressure, sense minute shifts that signal distant storms, know when to lower altitude, when to change direction, not because they predict, but because their bodies are already familiar with these signals. And then there is an ability that continues to astonish modern science. Birds can sense the Earth's magnetic field, not through reasoning, not through measurement, but in a way similar to how we experience light. Some species of birds see the magnetic field as faint, luminous bands stretching across space. North and south are not concepts, they are direct experience. In Jungian psychology, this is a perfect example of what Jung called the orientation of the psyche, the mind's natural capacity to align itself. Modern humans often feel lost, not because they lack information, but because they have become disconnected from deeper orienting systems. Birds have not. They carry a mental map built from spatial memory, from previous flights, from horizons once crossed. Not a map precise to every meter, but a map of sensation. Just as you can close your eyes and still know whether a room is wide or narrow, know where the window is, know where safety lies. You do not measure, you remember with the body. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." The unconscious is not something vague that must be controlled. It is the repository of our most ancient wisdom. Birds trust their unconscious. They do not doubt sensation. They do not overanalyze. When the time comes, they fly. They do not need 100% certainty. They do not require guarantees. They trust the direction. This is deeply important for the human mind at night, because much nighttime anxiety arises when the mind tries to navigate through thought, while the body is already tired. But the body knows. It knows when rest is needed. It knows when to let go. It knows when no more information is required. Birds see ultraviolet light, a world of illumination humans cannot perceive. That does not mean this world does not exist, only that we were not designed to see it. Just as many of your inner sensations cannot be put into words, yet are entirely real. Birds live within a broader reality with more layers, more signals. And as you listen to this story, your mind is gently invited to step beyond familiar modes of knowing. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to follow every detail. Simply feel that there are ways of knowing that are very calm. There are directions that do not require maps. There are journeys that do not require worry at every step. Birds do not know exactly how the entire journey will unfold. They only know the first direction, and that is enough. If part 2 spoke of flight as a dialogue with the sky, this part speaks of orientation as a biological trust. A trust that needs no promises, no guarantees, only the ability to listen to the right signal at the right moment. And right now, as you hear these words, your mind may also be quietly finding its own direction. Toward rest, toward sleep, toward a state where no more thinking is required. You do not need to know how deep your sleep will be. Birds do not know the entire sky ahead of them either. They only know this now is the time to keep flying. And in the next part, we will move closer to something even more familiar to humans, the intelligence, learning, and memory of birds, a form of intelligence that is quiet yet enduring and profound. For now, you may allow that sense of direction to gently lead you, very slowly, into sleep. Part 4. Intelligence and continuous learning. If in the previous part we followed birds across long journeys navigating by stars, wind, magnetic fields, and spatial memory, then a very natural question now arises. A question that touches directly upon us as humans. Do they understand what they are doing? Or is everything merely blind instinct programmed from birth? The answer, gentle yet surprising, is this: birds learn. Not in the way humans learn in classrooms, but in a deeper way, a quieter way, and a more enduring way. Birds use tools. Some species of crows use twigs to extract food. Some parrots can bend metal wire to solve a problem. But what is most remarkable is not the action itself. It is how they approach the problem. They do not try once and give up. They observe. They experiment. They adjust. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Intelligence is not the accumulation of information, but the capacity to transform when encountering something new. And birds do this constantly. They remember thousands of locations, places where food was hidden, safe routes, areas where danger once appeared. Yet this memory is not rigid. When the environment changes, birds change with it. They learn from one another. They observe what others do, what they avoid, which moments they choose. Knowledge does not reside in a single individual. It flows, like an invisible current passing from one generation to the next. In Jungian psychology, this closely resembles the idea of collective learning that does not require a central conscious controller. Young birds do not need to be taught in a forceful way. They imitate, they sense, they synchronize. Birdsong is not always the same. A young bird learns its initial song from its surroundings. Over time, it adjusts the melody, adds variations, smooths the rhythm, and sometimes creates an entirely new version. Songs change with age, with experience, with social context. Not unlike humans. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Yet birds seem to do both at once. They learn from the outside world and adjust from within. The intelligence of birds does not oppose instinct. It grows out of instinct, like gentle waves forming over ancient stone. This is an important point. Modern humans often place intelligence and instinct on opposite sides, thinking on one side, reflex on the other. Birds do not divide life this way. Their intelligence is both instinctive and flexible. They do not need to decide everything through thought. Many actions arise from a deep familiarity with the world. This makes them hesitate less, suffer fewer inner conflicts, and this is precisely what creates a feeling of calm when humans observe birds. Because at a very deep level, our minds remember there was once a way of living like this. A way of living not fragmented by too many choices. A way where learning did not create tension but was a natural part of being. Birds play. Not because they are idle, but because play is a form of learning. They try new movements, new sounds, new social interactions, and through this they expand their world. In Jungian psychology, play is a sign of a healthy mind. It reflects the ability to move beyond rigid reflexes. As you listen to this story at night, your mind may be doing something similar, letting go of seriousness, releasing the need to be right, allowing itself to drift. There is no problem to solve right now, nothing more to learn. Like the birds, you have learned enough for today. What is needed has already been gathered not only in your mind but in your entire body. Intelligence does not disappear when you sleep. It rests. And while resting, it continues to organize, to connect, and to prepare quietly for tomorrow. If part 3 spoke of orientation beyond the senses, this part speaks of intelligence beyond thought. An intelligence that is not loud, not boastful, not in need of proof. It simply knows when to do what. And right now, that same intelligence within you is gently whispering, "Enough, you may rest." In the next part, we will listen to an even subtler language, a form of communication that goes far beyond birdsong. For now, you may allow these lessons to softly dissolve and sink together with your sleep. Part 5. Communication beyond birdsong. If in the previous part we saw the intelligence of birds in the way they learn, remember, and adapt, then here another door quietly opens, quieter, more subtle, and closer to the human unconscious than ever before. Because birds do not speak only through song. In fact, song is just a very small part of their entire world of communication. Humans often believe that communication requires language, sound, words. But birds are not limited in this way. They communicate with their entire bodies, with the rhythm of drumming against hollow trees, with vibrations traveling through the air, with the smallest movements of wings, head and tail, a slight tilt, an unusual pause, a repeated motion at exactly the right moment. All of these are messages. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "The psyche consists essentially of images." The mind does not primarily operate through words, but through images, rhythms, and symbols. Birds communicate in precisely this way. The colors of feathers are not only for beauty, they reflect light in very specific ways. Some species create visual illusions when they fly or move, causing the eyes of others to see more than what is physically there. Light becomes language. No translation needed, no explanation required. It only needs to be seen. The rhythm of flight is also a sentence. The way a bird dives, the way it circles upward, the way it hangs suspended in the wind, all of this carries meaning. Not abstract meaning, but meaning within context. Who is nearby? Who is watching? What time of day it is? What season of the year? The language of birds is never separated from situation, and this is very different from modern humans. We often speak a great deal, yet pay little attention to context, little attention to rhythm, little attention to the body. Birds do not do this. They do not signal when it is unnecessary. They do not send messages at the wrong moment. They do not repeat without purpose. A single well-timed drumbeat can carry more information than hundreds of random sounds. Some birds mimic the sounds of their environment, flowing water, wind, insects, and even the sounds of other species, including humans, not as unconscious imitation, but as a way to expand their language. Birds do not draw sharp boundaries between natural and artificial. Sound is sound. If it has meaning, it is used. In Jungian psychology, this is a clear expression of symbolic flexibility. A symbol is not fixed to one form. It changes with context. Just as in human dreams, a single image can carry many layers of meaning depending on when it appears. Birds do not communicate to persuade, not to argue, not to win or lose. They communicate to regulate relationships, between individual and individual, between group and group, between themselves and the environment. There are no general messages. Every signal exists within a specific living situation. Carl Jung once said, "Meaning makes a great many things, endurable, perhaps everything. But meaning does not have to come from words." Birds understand meaning through rhythm, through distance, through light, through movement. And because of this, when humans listen to birds, we often feel calm. Not because we understand what the birds are saying, but because our minds recognize a more familiar form of communication, a form that existed before language. An ancient mode of communication, where body and environment speak directly to each other. As you listen to this story before sleep, you do not need to understand every word. You are participating in another form of communication. The slow pace of the voice, the pauses between ideas, images appearing and dissolving. All of these are messages. No response is required. No reply is needed. You only need to be there. If part 4 spoke of the learning intelligence of birds, this part speaks of wordless language. A language you once knew very well when you were a child before you learned to speak, when every sensation carried meaning, when a glance was enough to understand, when rhythm alone was enough to feel safe. And perhaps this is why the sounds of birds so often appear in the most peaceful moments of life. Early morning, dusk, the quiet pause between two rains. Birds do not break the silence. They become part of it. And right now, as you hear these words, you may no longer be trying to listen. You may simply be letting the sound pass by, letting the rhythm guide you. That is the moment when the deepest communication is taking place. In the next part, we will see birds not only as communicators, but as biological architects and artists, building nests and living spaces with a very calm and very deep intelligence. For now, you may allow this wordless language to continue resonating very softly until sleep finds you on its own. Part 6. Biological Architecture and Art. If in the previous part, we listened to the wordless languages of bird signals sent through rhythm, light movement and silence, then now the story slowly turns toward another form of communication. Quieter, more enduring and lasting longer through time, the way birds build their living spaces. Birds leave no blueprints, they use no rulers, they write no plans. And yet every nest is a remarkably precise answer to the question, how does one live, nurture and protect what is fragile? A bird's nest is not merely shelter, it is the material memory of intelligence. There are nests suspended in mid-air, woven from hundreds of fine blades of grass, interlaced in a soft geometry strong enough to withstand wind, flexible enough not to break. There are mud nests built layer by layer, dried in the sun, then reinforced again as if the birds understand perfectly the rhythm of wet and dry in their environment. There are underground nests hidden in rock faces beneath the earth, where temperature is stable, light is just enough, and predators are kept at a distance. Each form of nest is a different answer to the same question of survival. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is never separate from meaning. Space is never separate from psychology. A bird's nest is not built to be beautiful, and yet beauty emerges as a natural consequence of fitness." This is a very ancient kind of aesthetics, the aesthetics of the right place, the right time, the right measure. Many bird species use aromatic leaves in their nests, not because the scent is pleasant to humans, but because the chemical compounds in the leaves repel insects, reduce parasites, and protect the young. Some species change the colors of their nests over time, as materials fade, as light shifts, as seasons turn. A nest is not a fixed object. It ages along with its environment. In Jungian psychology, this closely resembles the concept of individuation, the process of becoming oneself through continuous adaptation, not by preserving form unchanged, but by adjusting without losing essence. The way light enters a nest is never accidental. how sunlight filters in, how shadows move throughout the day, how air circulates. All of these affect temperature, humidity, and the safety of the chicks. Birds do not calculate with formulas. They sense with their bodies. Just as humans can feel whether a room is comfortable or stifling without measuring anything. Carl Jung once said, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct." Creation does not arise from pure reason, but from the instinct to play. Birds build nests, as if playing with materials, trying, failing, adjusting, without anxiety about perfection, caring only for what supports life. And when the nest is complete, the bird does not live there alone. The nest is a space of care. Every architectural decision serves to protect the vulnerability of the young, stable, warmth-balanced humidity shelter from wind-safe entrances and exits. Bird architecture is the architecture of quiet care, unshowy, uncelebrated, unnoticed. In the human world, we often build homes for ourselves first, and only later think of others. Birds do the opposite. Their living spaces are designed around beings who cannot yet protect themselves. In Jungian thinking, this is a profound symbol. True maturity is not found in power, but in the ability to create safety for what is weaker. As you listen to this story before sleep, you may feel a very particular kind of calm. Not because bird nests are distant, but because your mind recognizes something familiar, the need to be sheltered, the need to rest in a space that makes no demands. Sleep itself is like a nest, not a place to work, not a place to prove anything, just a place to be held. A bird's nest does not last forever. After a season it may be abandoned, worn down, dissolved, but that does not diminish its value, because the nest was made for a phase, for a life cycle, for a moment of growth. In Jungian symbolism, this is the acceptance of impermanence without turning it into tragedy. A safe space does not need to be eternal. It only needs to last long enough. If part 5 spoke of the wordless language of birds, this part speaks of the language of form, a language written with local materials, with light, with warmth, with care. And as you lie still listening to these words, your mind may be quietly building a very personal nest of its own, a place where thoughts are allowed to slow, a place where the body is allowed to grow heavy, a place where no answers are too required. In the next part, we will step away from the nest to observe birds in their social and emotional lives, friendship, bonding, loyalty, and play. For now, you may let this feeling of being sheltered continue to spread, very gently, until sleep closes the long day for you. Part 7. Rich social lives and subtle emotions. If in the previous part, we paused beside the nests, spaces woven from care, patience, and protective instinct, then now we step out of those nests to see birds in another dimension, birds in nests. Relationship with other birds. Because birds do not live alone. Even species that appear solitary always exist within a wider social field. Through sound, through memory, through the presence of other individuals sharing the same living space. Birds form lifelong pair bonds. Not out of romance in the human sense, but because emotional stability and long-term cooperation are effective survival strategies. Two individuals learn to fly together, forage together, defend territory together, raise young together. This bond is not blind instinct. It requires memory, adjustment, forgiveness, and sometimes waiting. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "Where love rules, there is no will to power. Where true attachment exists, there is no need for absolute control. No need to dominate." Birds in a pair are not identical. They share roles flexibly. They adapt to circumstances. When one is weak, the other carries more. This is not tragic sacrifice. It is the natural rhythm of relationship. Beyond pair bonds, birds form long-term friendships. Individuals recognize one another over time. They fly together, they forage together, they warn one another of danger. No promises, no contracts. Only the safety of familiarity. In Jungian psychology, this reflects the bonding archetype, an ancient pattern of social connection that existed long before humans developed complex language. Birds also have hierarchies, but their hierarchies are not always rigid. They shift with age, with health, with experience, with circumstance. A bird that once led may step back when it no longer fits. A younger bird may step forward when capable. Hierarchy exists not to oppress, but to reduce conflict and distribute roles. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Many social tensions are not solved, but adjusted through development." Birds understand this without concepts. They hunt in groups, fly in formation, share information about food sources. Each individual does not need the whole picture, only its place in the moment. Some bird species practice communal parenting. Not only biological parents, but other group members help protect, feed, and teach the young. Care is not limited by bloodline. It expands into collective responsibility. In Jungian symbolism, this is a clear expression of collective care, something modern humans often long for but struggle to recreate. Birds also form interspecies alliances. They forage together, warn one another of predators, share space, not out of friendliness, but because cooperation increases survival. There is no rigid distinction of us versus them, only what fits and what does not within a given context. And then there is one behavior that surprises humans the most: birds play. They fly without purpose. They tease one another. They try new movements that serve no immediate survival function. Play does not produce food, does not build nests, does not defend territory, but it nourishes emotion. Carl Jung wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct." Play is where intelligence and emotion meet, where relationships soften, where tension is released. Birds play because social life cannot revolve solely around survival. It needs light joy to sustain connection. And this is why humans feel at ease watching birds, because at a very deep level our minds recognize a society not weighed down by meaning, a society that knows when to be serious and when to be light. As you listen to this part before sleep, you may feel a slow softening. The social tensions of the day, roles, responsibilities, expectations begin to fall away. You do not need to be anyone right now. No role to maintain, no position to hold, no response required. Like birds in a flock at nightfall, you may draw inward, still belonging without needing to perform. If part 6 spoke of the safety of the nest, this part speaks of the safety of relationship, a space where presence is enough, where familiarity brings reassurance, where emotions may be subtle, unnamed, and still complete. In the next part, we will see birds in the harshest conditions on Earth, ice, desert, volcanoes, oceans, and discover a quiet form of strength hidden within fragility. For now, you may let this sense of belonging gently surround you and carry you deeper into sleep. Part 8. Adapting to every extreme of the planet. If in the previous part, we listened to the subtle social lives of birds, their relationships, bonds, play, and care, then now we step out of that warm space to follow birds into places where life seems to exist only at its most fragile edge. Ice, desert, volcanoes, oceans, altitudes thin with oxygen, regions so saturated with salt that they seem to dry life itself away. And in all of these places, birds are still present. Not as conquerors, not as creatures fighting against nature, but as living answers written by the harsh conditions themselves. Birds do not endure their environments. They become part of them. In the ice, birds learn to retain heat not through force, but through fine adjustment. Their feathers are not only for flight, they are layers of trapped air, microscopic spaces that prevent cold from penetrating. Blood in their legs flows through special pathways. Warm blood, traveling downward, passes its heat to cold blood, moving upward, minimizing energy loss. No panic, no resistance, only delicate balance. In the desert, birds learn to conserve water to a degree almost unimaginable. They excrete waste that contains almost no water. They are active during the coolest hours. They read wind and shade as one would read a map. Life here depends not on abundance, but on precision. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "Adaptation is not imitation but a creative act. Adaptation is not copying the environment, but creating a new form of oneself that fits the conditions." At high altitudes with little oxygen, birds do not need larger lungs, but different blood. Their red blood cells bind oxygen more efficiently. Heart rate and breathing adjust to do more with less. Where humans feel suffocated, birds experience a different rhythm of life. Not fast, not slow, simply the right rhythm. Over the vast ocean, birds live in absolute openness. No shelter, no foothold, no fixed boundaries. And they learn to sleep while flying. Not deep sleep, but alternating moments of rest between brain hemispheres. One half sleeps, one half remains awake. Wakefulness and sleep are not opposites here, but interwoven. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Yet birds show us something else. Not all forms of awareness are painful. There are gentle forms of awareness sufficient for survival without tearing the mind. In saline environments, birds develop salt-filtering glands. They drink seawater without poisoning themselves. Rather than avoiding what cannot be changed, they transform it. Near volcanoes, birds live alongside toxic gases, high temperatures, and unstable ground. They read subtle signals, vibrations, sense changes in the wind. They do not need scientific understanding to sense what is coming. This is not magic. It is bodily intelligence. In Jungian psychology, this is precisely the functioning of the collective unconscious, ancient behavioral patterns refined over millions of years. Birds do not think about survival. They are survival. And when we watch them, a very deep part of us recognizes this. Because humans, despite living within houses, schedules, and technology, still carry within themselves those ancient layers of the unconscious. When we hear stories of birds adapting, our minds are gently reminded we do not need to be rigid to survive. We do not need to control everything. Sometimes the only thing required is a very slight adjustment. Just as birds adjust their feathers, adjust their heart rate, adjust the timing of flight. This part tells no story of heroes, no story of conquest. It tells the story of resilient softness. And it is precisely this softness that carries birds to every corner of the planet. From here in the next part, the final part of the journey, we will look at birds not only as individuals, but as shapers of ecosystems, whose silent flights form the living world of Earth. For now, you may let the thought that survival does not need to be tense spread gently through your mind. Like a bird gliding through the night wind, you too can glide past tired days and drift slowly into sleep. Part 9. Birds as forces that shape ecosystems. After following birds through ice, deserts, oceans, and empty skies, after witnessing how they adapt without resistance, now we step back once more to see birds not only as living beings, quiet currents shaping the life around them, because birds do not merely exist within ecosystems. They give form to ecosystems. Each flight is not only movement, it is dissemination. Seeds cling to feathers, fruits pass through digestive systems. Spores, microorganisms, pollen are carried across mountains, rivers, and oceans. Forests do not grow only from soil. Forests grow from flights. There are forests on distant islands that exist solely because birds arrived there thousands of years before humans. No maps, no plans, only the instincts to fly and to eat. Yet those simple acts have connected scattered lands into a continuous living network. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, Life has always seemed to me like a plant that lives on its rhizome. Life does not grow as a single upright trunk, but through underground roots spreading outward. Birds are those hidden roots unnoticed, without a center, yet linking everything together. When forests burn, when soil erodes, when storms sweep the land bare, birds are often the first to return. They do not rebuild in the human sense. They open pathways. A seed falls. A young tree emerges. An insect species returns. And then a living chain begins. No command, no authority, only presence at the right moment. In Jungian psychology, this is an expression of the archetype of the messenger forces that do not establish centers of power, but connect different levels of existence. Birds fly between earth and sky, between forest and sea, between continents and distant islands. They are living bridges. Migratory flocks connect ecosystems thousands of kilometers apart. They carry energy, matter, and biological information. A forest in the north may be shaped by flights that began in the south. Life is not divided by borders. Only humans imagine it so. Birds remind us this planet is one great body, and every small movement leaves an echo. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." Flights that seem random, in fact, create ecological order, not through rigid blueprints, but through the soft rhythms of nature. When birds disappear from a place, the ecosystem does not collapse immediately, but it begins to lose its memory. Forests are no longer connected. Seeds are no longer dispersed. Recovery chains slow down. Like the human psyche, when it loses living symbols, everything still exists but no longer feels whole. At a deeper level, birds shape not only physical ecosystems but the psychological landscape of humanity. They appear in dreams, in symbols of freedom, in images of the soul, in the longing to transcend. Carl Jung wrote, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul. And in many dreams, birds are that door. They do not speak, they do not explain, they simply fly. And for that reason, they become images of life, spreading without control." When you listen to this part before sleep, you do not need to remember facts. You do not need to analyze. Just allow the thought that life is sustained by quiet forces. Not every contribution needs to be seen to drift gently through your mind. Like birds flying in the night, you may not see them clearly, but you know they are there. The next part, the concluding passage, will not introduce new knowledge. It will simply gather the feeling that this entire journey has planted within you. The feeling that you are not outside of life. You are lying within a vast network where every breath is supported by countless quiet movements. For now, let those flights pass softly through your mind. No need to follow, no need to understand, just sleep. And now, as the story of birds slowly comes to a close, you may sense that we have not only spoken about birds, we have traveled through the deep time of Earth, from the first feathered dinosaurs to the gentle wings gliding across today's sky. We have followed birds through wind, heat, and invisible air currents, seeing the world through the body of a being that reads the sky without words. We have listened to the intelligence of birds, an intelligence that is quiet, needs no proof, yet remains resilient and flexible. An intelligence that knows how to learn, remember, create, how to play, how to bond, how to build small nests within a vast planet. Then we went even farther to the harshest places: ice, desert, ocean, thin air at high altitudes. And there, birds did not fight life, they adjusted themselves to live with it. Finally, we stepped back to see birds from above, as quiet forces connecting forest to forest, mainland to distant islands, past to future. Nameless flights, unwitnessed by anyone, become blueprints for life's expansion. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "Man is not a tabula rasa, but is always and everywhere the inheritor of an ancestral past. Human beings do not begin from zero." And as we listen to the story of birds, a very ancient memory within us quietly awakens. Because at a deeper level, birds do not live only out there. They live within our unconscious. Birds are images of freedom, but not rebellious freedom. They are freedom through harmony. Freedom that knows where it belongs, knows when to fly, when to stop, when to rest. Perhaps that is what your mind is seeking right now. Not more information, not more goals, but the feeling of being safely let down. Like birds at nightfall, no longer needing to fly, they draw themselves inward, place their bodies in the right position, and allow the rhythm of life to slow. If today you are tired, remember, life does not require you to be strong all the time. If you feel small, remember the greatest shaping forces on earth are often the lightest movements. If you feel lost, remember birds do not need the entire map. They only trust inner sensing and fly one stretch at a time. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And right now you no longer need to look outward, no need to follow, no need to analyze. You only need to remain inside with your breath, with your slowing heartbeat, with the feeling of being supported by a story that has reached its end. Let the final wings pass through your mind like distant fading images without holding on. There is no lesson to remember, nothing left to do. Only sleep now very near. May you have a truly peaceful night. May your thoughts settle like the sky after a long flight. May your mind rest and your unconscious be free to dream its own dreams. Sleep well.